and her son, 17-year-old Corey Rossell, are suing construction worker Russell Wynn for the cost to fix Corey's Ford Taurus. Corey claims Russell was chasing him and ran him off the road.
Council's case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Rossell Chronister versus Wynn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Chronister, this is your son?
Yes.
He's 17 years old?
Yes.
Have you ever had any trouble with him driving a car?
That was the first incident. He had only had his license for a month when this incident occurred.
Okay. What's your first name?
Corey.
So let's talk about this, Corey.
Okay.
According to your complaint, Mr. Wynn is a real nut. And he chased you in his car for no reason and caused you to have an accident. And after you had the accident and he caught up with you, he slammed his car into yours, causing damage to your car. So you had damage from the accident and you had damage from his car hitting yours.
Yeah.
And in addition, you say that he slammed the trunk of your car on your arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When you went to get a baseball bat out of the trunk of your car, and that caused you injury. All told, you want Mr. Wynn to compensate you in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wynn says that he was being a good Samaritan,
Yes, ma'am.
that he saw you involved in a hit-and-run accident. You took off after you hit something, and he was following you until he could get the police to apprehend you. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Wynn. On what day were you being this good Samaritan?
June 30th, I believe it was.
April 30th.
April 30th. I'm sorry, excuse me.
And where were you going to, and where were you coming from?
I was coming home from work,
And what time of the day was it that you were coming home from work?
approximately 3:45, 10 to 4.
What kind of car were you driving?
I drive a 95 Dodge van. It's my work van, so I carry all my equipment and tools in it. It's a full-size van.
And what car were you driving, Corey?
95 Ford Taurus.
Whose car is that?
That was my car. It was in her name, but I was driving.
Who was with you?
3 of my friends were with me.
Did you ever have an agreement with your mother not to drive other people around in your car?
No, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Wynn. So you're driving down the road, and what do you see that draws your attention?
I was heading south on Blanding. He was coming north on Blanding. There was a white car. It was a good ways ahead of me, probably 100, 150 yards ahead of me.
Ahead of you?
Ahead of me.
So you're going in the opposite direction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He made the turn to go down Alligator, which is my road that I go down also. I seen him hit the back end of the white car. It wasn't real hard, but he did hit it and just took off. I mean, he just nailed it and went. The lady who was driving the other car, which I didn't stop, had pulled over, was getting out of the car as I rounded the corner, and I just stepped on it trying to catch up with the car, see if I could at least get the tag number. That's all my intention was, is to get the tag number. Well, being he's in a smaller car and I'm in a big van with a lot of tools and equipment, I couldn't keep up with that van, with the car.
My car is not a smaller car. It's not like a little bitty car. It's a big car. I can fit like probably 6 or 7 people in my car.
I'm not asking you that, Corey, dear.
Sorry.
Mrs. Chronister, you weren't there.
I know.
You weren't there. Does Mr. Wynn look like a nut to you?
No,
He does not. He doesn't look like a nut.
but I believe his behaviors throughout the thing were...
Just a second. He doesn't look like a nut.
No.
So if your son told you that he didn't hit this car, his son is lying to you.
My son never said he did not. He admitted to hitting the car, even to the
Okay.
police.
Good. So you hit this car.
Just now I bumped the car.
After you hit the car, what did you do?
On the Alligator, the road that he was turning on, we stopped. The other car was going the other way, like we were in the median and we were coming across. We stopped and looked over, and then her car just kept going. So we just kept going. And then with this car, the van, we seen a van behind us. I started taking the turns to go to my house. They were like, "This van's following you." I said, "The van's following me?" They said, "Yeah, speed up." So
Did you, just a second, did you get out of your car to look and see if there was any damage on your car?
No, ma'am.
Why not? When you hit somebody, when you hit somebody and you're moving, that's what you do.
Yes, ma'am. It was a very slight bump, so I knew there was nothing wrong with the car.
Got it?
Yes.
Now, I can understand a woman in a car with 4 men in another car who's bumped, maybe not feeling comfortable about pulling to a complete stop, if that's what she says is happening. But that doesn't mean his first reaction isn't to get a plate number and then report it to the police, right?
I had no disagreement with that. Right.
Fine. So he started following you. And then what happened?
So they were like, he's following me. So I took down a couple roads. I was still driving, just regular driving. And he kept following me.
Now, you saw him immediately after you hit the white car.
No, man, I took a turn, and then they.
Why did you take a turn?
I never saw him. My friend said.
Why did you take a turn?
Because I was turning to go to my house. I was just kept going. I didn't think nothing of it.
What street did you turn down?
It's just like a little dirt road that comes onto a alligator.
Do you know what street he's talking about?
No, ma'am, I had it written down, but I didn't. I apologize, I didn't bring it. But he turned down that one. He turned down several of them. As far as regular driving,
roads.
He was fishtailing.
You hit the white car, and how much later did you take a turn?
Probably 5 minutes. I mean, I had to go down Alligator a little
About
ways.
3 blocks.
3 blocks. Now, he's following you. You're 4 guys in a car. He's 1 guy in a van.
Well, we didn't know who. Like, I couldn't see inside his van. We didn't know anything about the van. We just knew that he kept saying he was following you. He's following you. So I said, okay, well, let's find out if he's following me. So I started turning down roads that I wasn't on my way to go home. And I just turned down and turned him, and he's still there. I started looking in my rearview mirror. He's still there.
Why didn't you go down the road and go home and call the police?
Because my house was an hour away from there. I live a long way away from town.
Well, what about your friends? How close do they live?
They, I would have had...
Corey.
Yes,
Corey.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Chase. Russell says Corey was fleeing the scene of a traffic accident.
Now, did you ever think that the woman that you hit in the white car was thinking the same thing about you and your 4 friends in your car?
No, ma'am, because we had stopped and we saw her drive off, so we just thought it was just...
She didn't drive off.
No, ma'am, he didn't even slow down.
She didn't drive off. That's what you told your mother.
If he'd have stopped, ma'am, I'd have went on my way, thought nothing of it.
If she would have stopped, how would he have known that she stopped if he was following us from the minute that he saw it?
Because he says he saw you hit her and take off. That's how.
That didn't happen. We stopped. I swear we stopped.
That's what you do when you hit another car, even if it's a little bump. You get out, you look at your car, you look at their car, you say, is everything all right? Are you all right? And then you leave. Unless you're scared that you've had your driver's license for a month, you got 4 friends in the car, and maybe if you just take off, this whole nasty thing's just going to go away. It's just common sense, Corey. That's what makes the world go round, common sense. That's why he was chasing you. He's not a nut. He sees 4 kids in a car, hit another car, and take off. And that's why he was following you.
There was other incidents that made me feel different after the fact that we got onto the main road, and he was still right behind me. Well, it's just rained, so it was pretty slick outside, and I started going through all these roads. I finally got to the end of the road, so I turned onto a main road, and he was still right behind the road. He's still there. He got right up beside my car. This is why I didn't think he was actually following me, because he ran my car off of the road. And he ran my car off the road to where he almost ran right into my driver's side door. And then he got out, and all I could hear was him cussing and cussing and cussing. And so I just took off. I was like, I'm not going to sit here for this. And I took off, and then I was like, I'm turning here, and it just rained, and I had a lot of dirt on my tires, so it's slick, and I just ran right into the tree. And then after I hit the tree, I backed up, and the guy was still back there. And I started going through the parking lot, and they were like, he's still there.
And you got 3 other teenagers in the car with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's supposed to stop.
Well, I agree at one instant, but I'll be honest, I have told my children that because previously in Florida around our area, people have been shot, you know.
You mean cars bumped?
Cars bumped, you know, all that.
That's why the white car may have moved on with 4 men in the car behind them.
I agree.
How do you not do the right thing and then come to court to sue about it?
Because I think he took justice into his own hands. I think he could have taken the license plate down.
Just a second. Do you think that your son was driving recklessly during that time?
I'm not saying he was in the right either, but I'm just...
Listen to me, Ms. Chronister. Then what you have to say is, if my son did something wrong, and as a result of my son doing something wrong, there was damage to my car, you don't come to court and sue over it.
I guess my main problem and concern comes in from when they did get on the main road. And he did come up on the side of them to the point where...
So get him over so that he would stop his car.
And when he did stop his car, he comes out cussing and hollering.
How many minutes did it take for him to chase you down?
Probably 20, 25.
He's on his way home from work.
And I understand that, but it's not even like his car was involved in it. He was supposedly being a good Samaritan, I understand, but I just think he went overboard.
You're entitled to your opinion. As a very, very dear friend of mine says, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Ultimately, it's only my opinion that counts. Your son did the wrong thing.
Okay.
He hit a car. He took off from the accident. This gentleman who was just looking to go home after a day's work said, it's not right. They just hit this lady in a car and took off. 4 kids in a Taurus, and I'm going to catch up with him, and I'm going to get his license plate, and I'm going to see to it that he's reported. And your son takes off and takes him on a 25-minute chase. I would have taken away his driving privileges. Did you get him a new car?
No.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
But, ma'am,
Thank you,
I have a question, though. After my son wrecked, this is where the punitive comes in, he hits him from behind, gets out of his car with a bat, and follows my son with a bat in his hand, screaming and yelling at him.
Threatening him.
How is
with
that?
a bat.
And what did your son do?
My son stood there and yelled. They were yelling. His car was smoking. Then my son went around and went to get the bat, and that's when
Went to get his bat.
Right.
Case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She kept going, like I said.
My intentions was only to get his tag number.
No evidence was found that I hit her.
I was bound and determined to get the tag number.
There was no evidence she was ever there.
That's the only thing I was trying to do is get a tag number.
It's just my word against his, and I guess his won.
I just doing my duty.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez Chanta Rasaka Rico versus Corona. Step forward.
Accountant Michelle Udico is suing her ex-boyfriend, plumber Stephen Corona, for ramming her Toyota 4Runner with his truck. Stephen claims Michelle is making up a story.
Miss Udico, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he got angry with you one evening and he intentionally damaged your truck. And Mr. Corona says that while he was angry that evening, he didn't do anything to your car, right?
That's correct.
Tell me when Mr. Corona damaged your car.
That evening, after I dropped him off at home.
What evening? was
May 21st a.m., May 20th, midnight.
And where had you been?
We were first at my house, and we got into an argument, and then I dropped him off at his house.
What did you get into an argument about?
Just general things, what couples normally get in arguments about. I mean...
I usually get into an argument with my husband about how many pairs of shoes I bring home.
Okay.
So what were you arguing about?
You know, I don't recall what the argument was about, but we got into one, and I dropped him off at home like he wanted to go. He wanted to leave, so I took him home.
What time?
It's probably about 10 or 11 at night.
And where did you go when you dropped him off?
I went over to his house.
What's his name?
This is my friend Frank. And I was there with a couple of friends. We were sitting on the front porch, and then that's when he showed up.
And Mr. Corona, you acknowledged that you came looking for her.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what happened when he came looking for you?
Well, he had asked for me to get into my truck and go home, so let's go home.
When he told you to get into your truck and let's go home, was he in his car or out of his car?
He was out of his car at the time. He parked next to my car on the street, and he got off of his car and pretty much demanding for me to leave. And with the look in his eyes pretty much looked violent, and I did not want to go, so I didn't.
He told you to get in the car and go home?
Yeah.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I was going to go, but then I turned around and I said, no, I'm not going.
What did you say to him?
I didn't say anything to him.
When he said get in the car, did you tell him okay?
Yeah, I said okay. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking. It's not a hard question. Okay. I'm just trying to follow the events. What happened starting from once upon a time and ending with the end. So he got out of his car and he said, get in the car, I want you to go home. He says he acknowledges he said that to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said, okay.
Right.
And he says that that's what you said. You said you would follow him, right?
She said she was going to go home to meet her there.
But then you decided not to go home.
Yes, I decided not to go home.
So you turned around and you said to your friend,
right?
Frank.
Correct.
Frank, could you sit up, please? Sit up. Good. Thank you, Frank. You said to Frank and his friends, I'm not going with him.
That's correct.
And you went back to the porch.
Right.
So far, your stories are exactly the same. But here's where we come to a fork in the road.
Right.
What happened next, Miss Utico?
Well, he got upset. He got into his car, and he wrecked into my car, which was not good enough for him, so he sped off and made a U-turn and came back around and wrecked even more into my car. And then
What do you mean wrecked? I don't know.
He wrecked his car into my car.
You mean he hit his car into your
Yes,
truck?
he hit his car into mine. So
And he did that twice?
he did it twice.
Mr. Corona,
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your answer, and you flatly deny that this is the way it happened. So I have a few questions for you. Mr. Corona.
Yes.
What did you have an argument with Miss Utico about that evening?
We were arguing about her staying home and her wanting to go out, and I was trying to get her to stay home, but she insisted on leaving. She told me that she had to get up to go to work in the morning. That's why she wanted to drop me off, because usually I stay the night there. And it was kind of odd that she wanted me to go home, because she actually picked me up, and usually I drive over there, but she picked me up earlier, and then she dropped me off. You know, she insisted on dropping me off.
I don't... Excuse me, ma'am.
So, you cared about her a lot.
Sure. Very much so.
You the jealous type?
No, but
A little bit?
sure, isn't everybody?
I don't know. Depends upon if you've got something to be jealous about. So let me understand this, Mr. Corona. Your girlfriend tells you she's got to get up early in the morning and she drives you home.
That's what she said.
You've got something in the back of your head that says, what's your first name?
Steve.
Steve. Steve, something's not kosher here. Because I usually spend the night, so I'm going to get into my car and go and look for her. Right? That's what you
Sure.
did.
Exactly.
And you're driving around, and something said, why don't you go over to old Frank's house? So you had the feeling maybe she was over there fooling around with Frank, right?
Possibly.
Well, you were going to give it a look-see anyway, right?
Sure.
I mean, is that what happened? Sure, that's where your car ended
sure.
up.
Sure.
And then, sure enough, your girlfriend of a year and a half who had to get up early to go out to do something the next day, there she was, sitting, chilling with Frank on the porch. And you double parked your car next to hers.
Exactly next to hers on the side, parallel.
And you got out of the car and you said, I want you to get into the car and come home with me. Right?
And she said
And
yes.
she said,
She said yes.
Yes.
She said, I'm going to follow you. I'll meet
I'm
you
going
at
to
my
follow
house.
you home. I'm going to meet you home. And then she didn't.
That's right.
And then, according to your answer, you went home and went to sleep.
That's right.
That's wrong.
First, before I went home, I went to her house and I waited in the front for her at her house.
Just a second. So you actually followed her direction and you went home.
Yeah. No.
How long did you sit in your car in front of her house waiting for her?
About 20 minutes.
Till he broke into
Just
my
stop.
house.
Don't speak. 20 minutes?
About 20
Steve,
minutes.
20 minutes. And while you were waiting this 20 minutes, did you start to get upset?
No.
You started
By
to
that-
get, just a second, you started to get, if you weren't upset, did you start to get hungry?
I was.
Did you start to get hungry? Tired?
Yeah, tired. Yes.
So you were tired?
Yes, I was
And
tired.
you said, forget it.
Exactly.
She made a fool out of me.
I'm done with it.
I'm finished with
That's
her.
right.
She made a real fool out of me this time because she made a fool out of me earlier in the evening when she drove me home. And she was maybe going to have somebody else come and stay over, but it wasn't going to be me that night. And now I went over there and made a fool out of myself in front of other people. And she made a bigger fool out of me, so you went home and went to sleep.
I threw in the towel.
Could I see the pictures of the car, please? You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Well, you made the report the very next day.
Right.
What happened? Did they ever come to see you, Mr. Corona? The police?
No, ma'am.
They never came to see you?
No, ma'am.
You live in Los Angeles?
Yes.
They're probably real busy. Mr. Corona, I'm going to ask a question, but you don't even have to answer, Mr. Corona. I want you to look at my face. It's a nice face, right? You wouldn't lie to this face, Mr. Corona, would you? So I don't even want you to answer me, sir. Did it feel good? Did it feel good? It's going to cost you $2,284.56. I hope it felt that good. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Beth Jesse for the cost of 2 Yorkie poos and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning. Case 1107, Collins versus Jesse.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Collins, the case is really not a difficult one. The facts of it aren't difficult. You and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes.
You know each other.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were going away on vacation, and you have 2 small dogs.
Yes.
You asked the defendant if she would watch the 2 dogs that you had.
Yes.
And along with a bird.
Yes.
Were you paying her?
Yes, I was going to pay her.
How much?
Maybe about 50 or 60 bucks.
Not about. Did you discuss with her that you will...
We didn't discuss the price. We just discussed her being paid.
Okay, so there was not a contract between the 2 of you, because a contract would require certain specifics. If you said to her, I'll watch my dog, I'll pay you. Is that what she said?
Correct.
Okay, so that's not a contract. A contract needs specific terms. Anyway, she was watching your dogs, and during the time that the dogs were in her care, they disappeared.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they disappeared, according to your complaint, under the circumstances that would suggest that they were stolen because the defendant showed you the dog's collars that she found when she was searching for the dogs in a parking lot not far from your house.
Right, yep.
Which would suggest that the dogs didn't run away, but somebody took them.
Correct.
That be a fair statement?
Correct.
We all understand now what this case is about. You want her to compensate you for the 2 dogs. Leave the dogs with her.
Like June the 18th.
And how long were you going to be away?
About 5 days.
Had she ever watched the dogs before?
No, I had just gotten them maybe like 3 months prior.
So they were puppies?
Yes, babies.
Where did you get them from?
I bought them from Hoobly. I have a Hoobly account, and they sell and buy dogs. And I met a person that was selling them, and I agreed to buy them. And I drove like 4.5 hours away.
What's Hoobly? Explain that to me.
Hoobly is a dog site where people register to buy and sell puppies.
Had you ever used this site before?
My daughter, I got it from her. She got her dog from Hoobly, so she told me about it, and I signed up, and I purchased dogs as well.
I'm just curious. So this is not a breeder. This is a group.
Yes. Some breeders are in the group, though.
It's sort of like seems like a Craigslist for dogs. People post ads, dogs for sale, looking for dogs, those sorts of things.
How much did you pay for each of the puppies?
$2,500 a piece.
Expensive.
Yes.
What kind of dogs were they?
They were miniature Yorkie poos, 2 boys.
Have pictures of them?
Yes.
May I see them, please? Would you like?
Yes.
Cute. So at the time that the defendant was watching them for you, they were about 4 months old?
Yes.
Did you ever discuss with the defendant how much you paid for them?
No, I never discussed how much I paid for them. I just told her that they were very expensive dogs.
She never said that.
Do you have dogs?
I do. I have 3 Esky Jacks. They're American Eskimo Jack Russell Terriers, a designer breed as well.
How much did you pay for them?
I didn't pay for anything for them. They are a litter from my Eskimo that I kept.
And what did you breed your Eskimo with?
So Abigail, she is an American Eskimo miniature. She actually just got out of the fence one day and bred herself with a Jack Russell. And we ended up with 4 puppies, and I got stuck with 3 of them. They're my world.
Okay. So the fence that she got out of is the same area where you let the dogs out?
No.
Okay. Tell me what happened. The dogs disappeared. Tell me what happened on the night that the dogs disappeared.
On the night that the dogs disappeared, we had a power outage. Lightning had struck the transformer.
What was the date?
June 20th.
And where do you live?
Mishawaka, Indiana.
And that was on the 20th of June?
Yes.
You confirm that for me?
I'll look into it.
Power outage. And?
It got very hot. My youngest had already fallen asleep, so I let him sleep in his bed. My oldest was outside watching the power crews, do their work. It got so hot that I let my dogs, which I had done all week, I let them all out back, fully fenced in yard, so they wouldn't get too hot. And in 5 minutes, I went inside, checked on Lonnie, made sure he was okay.
Your dog's out, The puppies went out too?
Yes.
So you let all the dogs out?
Yep.
How old are your dogs?
They are 9.
All of them?
All of them. They're siblings, yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I let them out. I went back inside to check on my youngest, make sure that Levi was okay out front, and I heard my dogs barking. They only bark when they see something. It could be a squirrel, raccoon, it could literally be anything. I went out there to check on them, and they were nowhere in sight. I have a gate to the back of my property that has a stake going through it to keep it closed. It was open. I called for my dogs. They came right back because they're very well trained. Hers did not. Gucci and Prada were their names. I kept calling for them. All week long, they came right to me. They were not coming to me. So I grabbed
So during the week, how long had you been watching them?
2 days at that point. If her calculation is correct, she left on the 18th.
Okay.
So I grabbed a flashlight. I let my son know that I was going out back. The dogs had gotten out. I had gotten my 3 back, but that the 2 black ones were missing. So I went back there, and I have photos of my backyard when it's dark. It's pitch black. So with a flashlight, I'm constantly looking. There's 2 little black puppies. So I was looking a good half an hour for them when I found their collars in the parking lot, the liquor store behind my house. And that's when I called the police.
Charmaine Collins claims her neighbor, Beth Jesse, owes for the cost of Ted's possession.
Okay. Can I see photos of the backyard?
Yep. I also have the police report as well.
Thank you. I have a police report because the
have the
plaintiff
original,
gave me
if that helps.
all this stuff when she gave me pictures.
Mine is an actual copy from the police department.
There was a power outage due to severe weather and tornadoes from the 20th to the 21st.
Did you take the dogs to the vet?
Yes, I took them to the vet. Before I took the dogs to her and let her keep the dogs, I had just taken the dogs to the vet maybe like a couple days prior to get their first shots.
Did you get the dogs chipped?
I didn't get the dogs chipped.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, it was. But that was my first time taking them to the vet. I was supposed to go back and take them June the 25th for their second vaccine, so I was going to get them chipped then. They were so small at the time, that was the first visit, so I decided, okay, well, I'll wait till the next visit to get a microchip. I never thought that, they were going to come up missing so soon.
Okay. You have any proof that the defendant stole your dogs or any way profited from the dogs being taken?
Well, I just feel like...
And I don't want you to tell me what you feel. What you
know
feel, what you
happened
think.
With the dogs, and I believe that she did something with them.
I don't care what you believe.
Well, I know she did something with them.
You know?
Yes.
What you know has to be predicated on a fact. What you believe has to be predicated on a fact in a court. What you believe you can have outside of a courthouse. Here I take proof. What has been presented to me was that a crime negligence, but a theft, which is a criminal act. And she showed you the collars from the dogs.
Yeah, she returned the collars.
Okay.
I also returned all of their belongings.
No,
the birds.
Belongings is not an issue. The collars, and I'll see the pictures now that you want to show me, Kevin.
In the pictures, it shows not only my backyard black, but I tried to use a flash as well just to kind of light up this backyard. Also, my cameras. I have 2 cameras in the front yard and 1 in the backyard that are on all the time. Unfortunately, with the power outage, they were down.
Yeah.
And then the 1 photo is of my 3.
Belief is yours to have. What you think is yours to have. Here you require proof. You left your dogs in the custody of the defendant.
Yes.
In order for her to be responsible for your dog, the cost of your dogs, there has to be some act on her part that displays some sort of a negligence on her part. I don't see that. The yard is fenced.
Your Honor, if you would look at those pictures that I just gave to you,
you gave me, listen to me, you gave me a whole stack of papers. Kevin, you can return all this stuff
the fence shows...
Just a second.
Okay.
You can return all this stuff to the plaintiff. Gave me up a whole bunch of other stuff that had nothing to do with the dog. Okay. So if she wants to look through and
what she's trying to say and what she accused me of,
just a second.
Your Honor.
If you will look here on this photo, this photo shows the picture of her backyard. The black circle shows pictures of the welding on the gate. The gate doesn't even open. I'm not sure how.
If the gate doesn't open.
No, it doesn't.
If the gate doesn't open, then that means that somebody leaned over and got your dogs. Unless you have proof.
Are you serious?
I have a photo of my fence open.
May I see it?
Yeah. So, on my camera.
Don't. The point is, in order for her to be responsible, I have to believe that she, this lady, and I need proof for that, took the collars off your dog, your collars, gave them to you, said that your dogs were stolen, and she sold your dogs for profit, did something with them. And in addition to that, immediately, to cover her tracks, called the police and committed another felony by reporting an act that didn't take place because she had actually stolen the dog. So in order for me to hold her responsible, I have to believe that she committed 2 felonies, one by stealing them and one by filing a false police report. And I don't see any proof of that. I mean, if you loan your car to somebody and they park it in a parking spot designed, and they take the keys to the car, and the thief comes, breaks the car window, hot wires the car and steals it, the person who borrowed your car is not responsible for that. If they left the keys in the car, yes, they would be responsible because that was an intervening act of negligence. You understand?
Yeah.
But so far, I haven't heard of any act of negligence that allowed this thief to, whoever it was, to take possession of your puppies. I mean, and they're clearly valuable puppies because they didn't take her dogs. They took valuable young puppies.
Yuppers.
Right.
Do you understand?
But my thing is, it's a rainstorm, the power is out, it's raining, it's wet, it's pitch black. In the middle of the night, the puppies are jet black. We don't have an alley, so it's not like traffic is coming back and forth down the alley. And the liquor store is
in and out all the time.
The liquor store is right behind our house. We do not have a pavement alley that cars can drive through. So my thing is, who would be laying out in the middle of the night after a rainstorm looking to steal some puppies?
I don't know.
Me either.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of person carjacks a car and hot wires it and takes somebody else's property in the middle of the night. I don't know who does that, but a lot of people do it. And I don't know personally anybody that would take advantage of that kind of darkness in order to commit a crime by stealing. I don't know, but I know a lot of people do it. I don't personally know people that take advantage of a power outage and go in and loot a store. I don't personally know, I don't think anybody who would do that, but I know people do it. So I can't answer your question. All I know is, in order to believe your proposition that the defendant did an act which makes her responsible for this, there has to be some act on her part other than a criminal act. And in order for me to believe that, I have to assume that this lady committed 2 felonies, grand larceny of your puppies and falsely reporting an incident to the police, because she did immediately report it to the police. Those 2 things. And I have no proof of that. Do you understand?
Yes.
I feel terrible for you. I'm sure she felt terrible.
Also, Your Honor, after she got home, not only were the police called another 10 times for harassment because she nonstop verbally abused me. And she did not put up flyers. She did not reach out to Facebook and all the law sites. She did not post anything.
Well, one of the problems is you waited to have them chipped.
Right.
Charmaine Collins claims her neighbor, Beth Jessie, owes for the cost of 2 Yorkie poos after they were lost while in Beth's possession.
Okay. You waited to have them chipped. If they had been chipped, there was a possibility that you might get them back because somebody would take them to a vet and then they would see a chip and they would read the chip. So that was a choice that you made. I'm not saying it's your fault. But it's something that you could take care of. I mean, that's within your power to do. You're the parent to these 2 creatures. Anyway, I don't find sufficient evidence to find her responsible for the act of a thief. And in order to prove that she was a thief or anyone acting on her behalf was a thief, you haven't established that to me unless you have proof to the contrary. Do you?
No.
Case is dismissed. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
She's the judge, so however it goes, I'm sorry about the loss for the puppies, and I hope whoever has them is taking good care of them.
I'm glad that she saw through the lies and the manipulation that she puts on quite the front.
Our animals are nothing compared to mine, far as in pricing.
To compare my dogs as less inferior, all animals need to be loved and cared for.
Her dogs are old, my dogs were babies, and they're worth a lot of money.
Whoever has them, I really hope that they're loving them as much as I did.
Next time, I'll make sure that's the first thing I do, chip the dogs.
Yes, always. Mine are chipped.
I think a good lesson from that case for all new pet owners is to get your animals chipped as soon as possible, because you never know when some crime like this could happen outside of your control.
Either outside of your control or as a result of even your own negligence. Yeah. You know, you'd open a door, puppy runs outside. It was a good lesson for her. I feel sorry for her. She paid a lot of money for those dogs.
Yeah.
Next time.
Suing dog rescue president Tammy Carlson for adoption fees and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise. Hello, Judge. Case number 1034, Delatorre versus Carlson.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Ms. Delatorre, you rescued a dog.
Yes.
That dog.
Yes.
And you rescued that dog from the defendant's rescue facility.
Correct.
And paid a fee.
Correct.
Of $500.
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of the contract?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Okay, now I've fully read this agreement. So you signed and acknowledged this contract.
Correct.
And this is Maltese Rescue.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you been in existence?
8 years.
Explain it to me. Do you operate out of your home? How do you do that?
Yes, so we have fosters spread out throughout California, and we operate the organization out of our home. When I retired, we decided to do this. We've rescued approximately 1,200 dogs over the last 8 years, Maltese specifically because they have special needs with their little bodies. So special medical needs. So that's pretty much what we specialize in.
So if somebody were, for instance, from Texas, and they could no longer take care of their dog, and they found Maltese Rescue online?
Yeah. Texas, it's a little more difficult unless they were to fly her here or the animal here. If they're in California, for instance, in Sophie's case, her owner had cancer and she was dying. So
here in California?
Here in California. So she called and she said, sorry, it makes me sad. She said, I want to have Sophie go to you because I know you come highly recommended and you'll give her the right home.
And Sophie is about 8 years old?
Yes.
So when she called you, do you take her into your home?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
For how long do you usually keep the dogs in your home?
It depends on the medical conditions of the dog. Sophie needed serious dental. She had several teeth pulled and she didn't eat very well. So
when you took Sophie to the vet to have her teeth taken care of, who paid for that?
We do. Maltese Rescue California pays for that.
And is Maltese Rescue of California a 501c3 corporation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, you had another dog.
Correct.
You actually had two.
Correct.
One passed away.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you thought that the surviving dog was lonely.
Your Honor, Scarlett is a special needs, and she's gone blind in the last about 8 months. And we had lost our boxer. And Scarlett depended on our boxer quite often because of her going blind. And when I went and saw the vet, I was explaining to her that Scarlett seemed very lonely, and then I know she was having trouble. So
that's the reason.
Suggested,
that's
yes.
the reason that you went to rescue.
Yes.
Okay. And Scarlett is a Maltese?
Scarlett is a 3.5-pound Yorkie.
But you went to the Maltese Rescue rather than a Yorkie Rescue. Why?
Maltese are usually smaller, and I was looking for a dog under 8 pounds.
Okay.
And so I was on Pet Finders, and a Maltese happened to come up on Pet Finders with the Maltese Rescue.
Okay. I just wanted to know how it came about. And you took her home on the 29th of April?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
no, I'm sorry. It was on the 30th, Your Honor.
Okay. Next day. And it was not a good fit with your other dog?
No, Your Honor.
So what did you do?
After 3 weeks, and we were trying to work her out with Scarlett, and there was some snarling going on there and so forth.
What did you do? 3 weeks later?
I phoned Tammy the morning of the 24th of May. I proceeded to try to explain to Tammy that it was not working out, that they were not bonding, it was not a good fit. And I was trying to explain to Tammy what all had been going on, but Tammy right away started yelling and barking at me. And
tell me what she said to you. After a month, you said it's not working out.
Right.
And what did she say to you?
She asked me, what do you mean it's not working out? What's going on?
So you told her, and then she said to you,
I want her back here tomorrow.
Okay.
So I proceeded to tell her that that would not work out, that it
not working out here.
Correct.
She said, I'll take her back, bring her tomorrow. Do you remember what day of the week this was?
It was on a Monday.
Okay. So you called her on a Monday.
Yes.
And she said, fine, bring the dog back. And you said, I can't bring her back until the weekend.
Correct.
And
well,
then
she said, I want her back here tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, well, that
And-
sounds reasonable. She's
Right.
concerned. You're calling up and you're saying, I don't want this dog anymore. The dog is not working out in my family. She didn't say it's not my problem anymore. You adopted her. She said, bring her back right away. Right?
Right.
And what happened?
I proceeded to tell her that I could bring her on the weekend.
Yeah.
And that was not acceptable to her.
No, she wanted the dog back right away.
Yes, she wanted the dog
back right away. And so what did
then
you do?
I said to her, then I would need to meet you, or you could send somebody to come get her. Either or. So she said to me, let me make a couple phone calls. I'll get back with you in a little bit. So we left it at that. So I waited that whole day. I didn't hear back from her. We went into the next day. I waited the next day. Did not hear from her.
Okay, now, so far that's 2 days later. That would be a Wednesday.
Correct.
Okay, and by Wednesday you hadn't heard from her, and you already told her that you couldn't return the dog until the following Saturday.
Correct.
Wednesday, prior.
That afternoon I had lunch with a friend of mine, Angel, and I was telling her what was going on, and she proceeded to tell me that
Don't tell me what she told you. As a result of that conversation, you rehomed the dog to these people.
No, I don't even know who that is.
Your Honor.
No.
Just a second.
Your Honor.
To whom did you give the dog? Just a second.
Rehomed her.
Who did you give the dog to?
I did not give her to anybody at that point.
So just a second. What did you do with the dog?
I still had the dog.
Until when?
I had the dog until Thursday, I believe it was. I'd have to look
Okay,
at
so
my
you
notes.
had the conversation with Angel on Wednesday, and on Thursday, what did you do with the dog?
I still had the dog until the afternoon when Tammy agreed.
Don't tell me what she agreed to. I asked you a specific question. What did you do with the dog on Thursday?
After I was instructed by my attorney.
What did you do
I
with
let
the
my
dog?
friend come pick her up.
Your friend Angel.
Take her to the grandparents.
Just a second. Your friend Angel. So you
Correct.
gave the dog on Thursday to this other person.
Correct.
And after that, you assumed that Angel was giving the dog to a grandparent.
Yes.
Okay. And then?
So I had got my attorney involved.
Why?
Because as I was trying to explain, on Wednesday evening when I called Tammy to see what was going on, because she had stated, give me a little bit, I'll call you back. I'm going to have somebody meet you tomorrow, which would have been that Wednesday. I'm going to have somebody meet you tomorrow to pick up Sophie. And I couldn't get two words in edgewise except to say, I was trying to explain to her and say, Tammy, I found another home for Sophie. I wanted to try to tell her they want to do an application, but Tammy did not give me a chance. Because right away she started ranting and raving and yelling at me. So after about 15 minutes of that, I cut the conversation and I said to her, we're not getting anywhere. You won't even let me speak to explain to you the situation. So tomorrow morning will have my attorney friend call you and he can set up a meeting time for us to meet to make the exchange of Sophie. So I did call my friend the next morning and I said, as a favor to me, would you call her and make arrangements for us to meet so I could return Sophie? So he made the arrangement. It was agreed that
Just a second.
I was returning.
You can't tell me that. That's hearsay.
Lorena Delatorre says dog rescue president Tammy Carlson owes her for the adoption fee of a Maltese.
So this is what the case is about. You made a $500 donation to Maltese Rescue.
Correct.
And you want the money back. That $500, that's what this case is about.
Yes, because Tammy agreed to pay me back.
That's what this case is about. You want your $500 donation back because these people, I don't know.
Grandparents.
They're your grandparents. Just sit. You, in effect, rehomed the dog to Angel, who said, my grandparents are going to take the dog. Let's say I let all of that in.
Yep.
That means that you don't know about the home. You have no idea about the home. You didn't do an inspection of the home. You don't know who the grandparents are. You don't know what.
He's a pastor, and they're very good Christian people.
What's his name, and how many times did you meet the grandparents?
George.
How many times did you see the grandparents?
Once. At a wedding reception.
After you gave the dog away.
Just a second.
Sorry.
That's not a home inspection. That just means you gave the dog to Angel to give to grandparents who evidently didn't keep the dog because they gave Sophie to these people.
Yes, Your
This
Honor.
is your dog.
Yes, but there was a reason why that happened.
I don't care why it happened. That has nothing to do with this case.
No.
Yes,
It
Your
has
Honor.
nothing to do with this case.
But I did not give Sophie away until after Tammy instructed my attorney that it was okay.
Just a second. You can't tell me that. It's hearsay.
We were on three-way.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just for my own information, I assume for the purpose of this question that you had a conversation with this lawyer friend of hers.
So he was a paralegal, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
Did you know that she was on the three-way?
No.
No. Look, this is very easy. Do you like Sophie?
Yes.
She looks healthy?
She's gaining a lot of weight. Yes.
You're satisfied?
All the right things.
And gave you $500.
No, she did not.
She did not.
Because she gave a $500 donation.
Okay, just a second. So you didn't ask her for another one?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been.
Just a second.
Okay.
It's very, very easy. You signed this contract. You want me to read it to you? I hereby acknowledge and understand that the dog's adoption fee is a donation to Maltese Rescue Organization and that MRC is in no way obligated to return or refund this adoption fee at any time. You made a donation.
Tammy agreed to return the fee to me.
Oh,
And she
really?
was going to
Just
get
a
it
second.
from this woman.
Just a second. Did you agree to return the fee to her?
When I first spoke to her, I explained if she would return Sophie to me immediately because I didn't know where she was, I would then refund her her money.
Just a second. That was in the first conversation
Yes,
when
Your
she
Honor.
called you on a Monday?
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
When she called you, did she ask for the adoption fee
No, she
back?
did not, Your Honor.
Okay. It was at that conversation when you say, bring the dog back here immediately and I will refund your money.
Yes.
And she says, I can't get the dog there until the weekend.
Actually, when she first called me, she said, you need to get this dog out of here immediately. I'm sick of her
Your Honor, I
peeing,
never said that.
peeing and pooping all over my house. I said, okay, I will get her tomorrow. I will call you back. And then it escalated from there. She also said she would not drive to me because she doesn't drive that far. I said, you drove to my house to pick her up. How could you not drive that far?
During what part of the initial conversation did you say to her, if you bring the dog back to me immediately, I'll give you your $500?
The very beginning, when she told me she was sick of her peeing and pooing all over her house. I will get her out as fast as I can, and I will give you your money back.
That any part of the
Your Honor,
conversation?
that's not what was said.
Okay, so you tell me when she told you she would give you your money back. On what day?
On 25th of May and on the 27th of May.
Okay, tell me about that. On the 25th of May was the day after you say you called her. You say you called her on the 24th of May.
And the 25th.
Just a second. You say you called her on the 24th.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't mention anything about the return of the money on the 24th.
No, ma'am.
On the 25th, very next day.
That was that evening.
Just a second. I thought you didn't speak to her the next day.
I did
Just
on the 20. I spoke to her I called her because I had not heard back.
Just a second. You told me your initial call with her was on the 24th, which was on a Monday.
Correct.
Right? And you say, I waited for her all day Monday, and I waited for her all day Tuesday, and I didn't hear from her.
So I called her back Tuesday evening.
And?
I have hit my phone.
Go ahead.
Okay.
And tell me about that conversation.
So that's when I asked her what she was going. Was she sending somebody to pick her up, or did she want to wait until the weekend? What did she work out? Because she was going to phone somebody.
Don't tell me what she was going to do. I mean, you do drive, and you did drive to get the dog, so you could have driven.
Ma'am.
And if you waited, what kind of work do you do?
I'm retired.
Well, if you're retired, why didn't you go bring her the next day?
Because
back to her house.
Because
if you're retired, why didn't you go and bring the dog home the next day?
As I'm trying to explain, when I have my grandkids, I don't drive that far because I'm not accustomed to driving in the traffic.
You have no case. Zero. Zippity doo-dah. You made a donation to a charity. Read your contract. I actually think you're pretty outrageous. Your case is dismissed. We're done here.
Court adjourned.
Oh, the defendant is nasty, and you could see that it's her way or no way.
I think that she made the right choice and she made the right decision.
And it's very apparent when I was at their home that she's just a nasty person.
So I'm not exactly sure what transpired there, but she definitely made the right decision.
I made a tax donation, and I'll use it on my write-offs.
That was relatively easy. Contract is a contract is a contract. Taking away all the emotions. Plaintiff knew what she was signing. She understood what she was signing, and she breached the contract. Anyway, right thing happened.
Is suing her ex-boyfriend, Vincent Salgado, for unpaid loans and car damages.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you?
Case number 1130, Salazar versus Salgado.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Salazar, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours.
Correct.
Claim he owes you some money.
Yes.
One for a loan and one for damaging your car.
Correct.
Who do you live with, Ms. Salazar?
My mother.
In her house?
Correct. Yes.
How old are you?
37.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I do medical billing.
Does your mom work?
Yes.
So it's just the two of you living together?
Yes.
And Mr. Salgado, how old are you, sir?
I'm 47.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in construction.
Do you work for yourself or with a company?
Oh, with the company.
How long have you been working for them?
A little over 2 months.
How much do you earn?
22 an hour.
And who do you live with?
Currently in a men's home right now.
So this is the story. You and Mr. Salgado, according to you, had sort of a relationship, and then Mr. Salgado went to prison for a period of time.
Yes.
And it's clear from seeing you, Mr. Salgado, that the information that you put in your answer appears to me, who has a relatively seasoned nose, that it's accurate. That you say when you got out of prison, you had sort of gotten your act together.
Yeah.
You were clean and sober. You've been clean and sober for how long?
Almost 2 years.
Feel better?
Yes.
You look fine. Anyway, you got out of prison, and according to what I read, Miss Salazar invited you to live in her home with her mother.
Sorry.
Is that what happened?
No.
Did you live in her home with her mother?
I did.
From when to when?
It was briefly.
Well, let's start with this.
Okay.
When were you released from custody?
Like almost 2 years ago.
Is it when you were released from custody that you went into a facility, a rehab facility?
No, I had just recently moved into that facility voluntarily. It was a place to stay, so.
When were you in a facility? What month and year?
From the beginning of September till now.
You were released from prison 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where did you go to live?
At the time, my current girlfriend.
So as soon as you were released from prison, you went to live with your girlfriend.
Yes.
How did you connect with Miss Salazar?
When I was in prison, she was looking out for me. We stood in touch. But when I got out, I kind of just stopped talking to her. I didn't talk to her when I got out for a few months. And from then we started talking again. We kind of rekindled the relationship.
How did you end up living with her and her mother? And when did that happen?
Well, things turned out bad with me and my girlfriend, and I kind of I was staying here and there with a friend's house, and then once we started talking again.
So you broke up with your then girlfriend?
Yes.
And you and Miss Salazar started talking again?
Yes.
Because she was staying with friends?
Yeah.
And it was sort of convenient. Did she volunteer a place to live to you, or did you ask her?
She told me that I can come stay with her.
Okay. And you knew that she liked you?
Yeah, she loved me.
Okay. And you knew that?
Yes.
But if I were to guess, and so far, Mr. Salgado, you've been right on the money. If I were to suggest to you, did you love Miss Salazar, you would say no.
That's not true.
Well, now you're back with your old girlfriend, correct?
No.
I said, where were you staying? You said, I'm staying with...
No, I was.
Oh.
No.
Well, before you went into this men's place where you're living now, you were living girlfriend.
No. It was a men's home on the streets for a little bit. Then it was with her.
And then?
And then it was on the streets for a little bit. Then with my girlfriend at that time. And before that, it was a jail cell.
Well, your girlfriend of that time?
At that time, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the month and date that you moved into Miss Salazar's home with her mother?
January, beginning of the year.
Was her mother happy that you were there?
I wasn't really happy.
You weren't happy? Actually, Miss Salazar says you weren't happy there. How long did you stay?
It was a couple months because I just didn't feel right because, I mean, I'm a 47-year-old man. I can't be living in a home with my girlfriend and her mom. It's just...
Listen, you don't have to be preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
I actually understand
It's embarrassing. Right? You know what I mean? It's embarrassing.
Right. So you had gotten a job in construction. Had you gotten a job in construction?
Yes.
Then, so you were making money.
At that time, no.
So where did you go when you moved out of her house?
Again, with friends. I was trying to stay positive, and I was trying to continue to do good because I wasn't trying to go back to what I used to do.
Did there come a time when Miss Salazar, this is her case, and I'm not sure about all of it, but did there come a time when Miss Salazar bought you some tools?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
Right after I moved in with her, she offered to help me.
Well, tell me about the conversation, because that's part of this lawsuit, the tools, which I assume you still have.
Actually, they were recently stolen out of my truck last week.
Oh, that's too bad. But you did have them.
I did have them.
And you did use them. It's your job.
Yes.
That you said you've had for at least the last couple of months.
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation with the tools.
At the time, I was looking for work. In the construction trade, you need your own tools. And so she had...
So you had to have told her that. That something doesn't know that you need your own tools if you're going to work construction. Yeah. So you must have said, I would like to work in construction, but I need my tools. I don't have the money for it.
Yeah. And
something like that.
Yeah.
Gina Salazar claims her ex-boyfriend, Vincent Salgado, owes for unpaid loans and car damages.
So you must have said, I would like to work in construction, but I need my tools. I don't have the money for it.
Yeah. And
something like that.
Yeah. And she offered to help me.
And what did she say?
She asked me if she can help me with getting what I needed.
How did it come about? Did you get what you needed and she gave you the cash, or did she give you a credit card?
She took me to go get them.
You went with her?
Yeah, but...
Don't be waving papers in my face.
Okay.
She took you to go get them.
Yeah.
And she put them on her credit card.
Actually, no, she went with me, but she gave me the cash.
How much cash did she give you?
That, it was like $600-700 at the time.
And she gave you the cash before you went to the store, or when it was...
When we were there, because she doesn't like shopping. So she gave me the cash, and I went in and bought what I needed.
So she stayed outside?
Yes.
She didn't go into the tool place with you?
Yeah, she don't like
stayed in the car,
yeah.
Looked at Instagram,
yeah,
looked at Facebook. She stayed in the car?
Yeah.
Did you bring back any change to her when she gave you the money, or did you...
She didn't ask for it, so I kept it.
Okay.
There really wasn't much left.
Okay. And what arrangements did you make with her to pay her back for this money? Did you say to her something like, when I get a job?
I know.
You didn't?
No.
That's interesting, because you're a 47-year-old man who said he couldn't be living with a girl and her mother in her house like a teenager. And here, somebody is giving you money so that man who wants to be considered a grown-up would say, when I get a job with these tools that you just bought for me, I'm going to pay you back.
Well, I didn't actually tell her I was going to pay her back. I was going to pay her back, but it was nothing like it was verbally spoken or anything like that.
So it was your intention to pay her back?
Yeah, full intention.
Because she was doing something nice for you?
Yeah.
So that you could continue to rehabilitate yourself?
Yeah.
Great. Now, at some point, you split up. And you're back with it, whatever. You made with friends, you didn't want to stay with her. You continued to see her even after you moved out of her mother's house. And you were working.
When I moved out, no. I got the job after.
How much after?
It was, I don't know, like I had gotten sick in July. I got COVID. So right after that, after I got better, I started working.
How did you support yourself? Did you get any stimulus money?
No.
How did you support?
I went to go staying with my girlfriend before that. I went back over there.
Well, that's what I thought before, and I asked you that, and you said no. What do you?
That was briefly. It wasn't like I wasn't staying there.
No,
I got
I
sick.
just want to know how you were supporting yourself.
I wasn't.
But you're working now, and you started to work, according to you, a couple of months ago, and you had every intention of paying her back the money that she gave you for the tools.
Yeah.
Did you ever start to pay her back the money?
I did not.
You want to tell me why?
I had a truck that needed tags that needed to be paid, and and those were
So
expensive.
she wasn't on the priority list.
No, she was on the list.
But she was on the list.
Yeah.
How much were the tools that you can prove to me? May I have the? Good. See, Mr. Salgado, how easy this is. This is such an easy job. I don't know what you're giving me. I asked you how much the tools were. If what Mr. Salgado told me was not truthful, and what you're going to tell me is truthful about the tools, I'm going to tell you now that he has totally fessed up to the fact that he owes you for the tools. He says you gave him cash, stayed in the car, and he went in and purchased the tools. He kept the change. You gave me a whole bunch of stuff here. Nothing there has to do with tools. Nothing. Kevin is going to return that to you. Okay. All I want to see is anything for the tools. If, in fact, you gave him cash, listen to me. So then show me the receipt for the tools.
No, I have the Zelle transfers that I sent him. I never gave him cash. I sent him through my bank to his bank. I sent him money. I never went with him shopping.
Okay. I want to see the tools, Miss Salazar. Tools. The cash for, that's $134.
No, $400.
$400.
Yes.
He says you gave him $600 or $700.
Yeah.
So why don't you say
This
that's
is
about right? So what you should say to me is that's about right. I gave him.
No, not all at once. He asked for it different times. He never asked for a lump sum. I gave him money in April, throughout April, because he started work in April. He started a new job in May, and then he started a new job in July with different companies. So he needed new tools for each job.
What I'm telling you is the complaint that you signed. You said in January of 2021, he asked me if he could borrow some money to buy tools and promised to pay me back. I lent him a total of $1,500. That is for tools.
From January to July?
No. That is for tools. You gave him. I'm only talking about tools.
Tools and work-related stuff.
No, not work-related stuff.
Yeah, it's work gear.
Tools. Tools. To buy tools.
Okay.
You have two parts of your claim. Loan to buy tools and damage that you alleged to your car.
Yes.
He says, I'm just telling you what he says. Mr. Salgado says that you gave him between $600 and $700 for tools. And if I were you, I would say that he intended to return to you, that you were on the list. If I were you, I would say, that's right. Because your bill for tools is $400.
No.
Do you understand? You could be mad, but you have to be smart at me.
There's more than 400 here.
What I'm telling you is tools.
Yes.
Not other money that you gave him for anything else.
This is the tools.
Just tools.
Gina Salazar is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Vincent Salgado, of damaging her car. He says he borrowed the car, but did not cause any damage.
Okay, how much were the tools?
This one is $539.
What?
This one's $539.
In what month?
In April. No, February and April.
Okay. What was it in February? Because you say January.
Well, no, from January was little.
I don't want little.
So the
I
tools
want
started
tools.
in February. So he was going to start work in March. So
Miss Salazar?
I gave him the money in February.
Miss Salazar.
Yes.
How much money did you give him for tools?
$539.
Okay, $539. Perfect. That's what she says she gave you for tools that you intended to return to her. But she wasn't on your short list. She was on your longer list.
She was on the list.
On the list. Okay. Now, the next thing that you claim is that he damaged your car.
Correct.
And he damaged your car on what date?
May 4th.
Now, in May, you were no longer together.
No, we were.
Were you living
He wasn't
together?
living with me, though. He was with my birthday.
Where were you together on May 4th?
In Santa Monica, at the Holiday Inn.
Do you remember that, sir?
Yes.
If my memory is correct from reading the papers, that was your birthday.
Correct.
So we both acknowledge that we were there at the Holiday Inn on May 4th. When did you get there, Mr. Salgado? The day before? Were you spending the weekend or just the night?
I was working. I was working out that way.
So you were just going for the night?
It was her birthday.
May 4th was a Tuesday, Your Honor.
May 4th was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you were just spending the night?
Oh, yeah.
How far is that from your construction job?
It wasn't too far. It was in the
Who got the room at the Holiday Inn?
I did.
When did you get it?
On the 3rd, because he just started work on the 3rd at that company. So instead of driving back and forth, I got a room next to where he's working.
Okay. And you say at some point something happened with your car.
Right.
You want to tell me what happened with your car?
Yes. He was hungry. He wanted to get something to eat. I didn't want to go.
When was that? On
the
May
4th.
4th? Mm-hmm.
Around 8 o'clock, and I didn't want to go. So he grabbed my keys and walked downstairs, and I followed him. And by the time I got downstairs, he was already backing up, like to leave, and he hit a pole. And it's a brand new car.
That wasn't me.
Okay, did that happen,
No,
Mr.
I didn't do that.
Salgado?
I don't know who did that.
Did anything happen on May 4th?
No.
When did you no longer have contact with the plaintiff?
Like a week or so after that.
Did you spend the night at the hotel on May 4th?
I did.
Did she?
Yes.
Did you leave on the 5th?
The following morning, yes.
After that, which was May 5th, did you see Miss Salazar again?
We seen each other a couple of times, and some things happened, and I kind of went my way.
Tell me when the last time was that you saw her.
Beginning of June, maybe.
So the whole month of May, you were in fact in touch. Would that be a fair statement, Ms. Salazar, that you were in fact in touch and did see the defendant?
Correct.
And when you saw the defendant between May and June, when he decided that it was over?
It wasn't over in June.
It wasn't over in June?
No.
When was it over?
In July, the end of July.
Okay. So for those 2 months, 3 months, May, June, and July, you continued to see him?
Yes.
But you didn't live together?
No.
Did you have your car fixed?
No, not yet.
I would like to see any communication that you have with Mr. Salgado with regard to the car damage. He says that never took place. He says, I never drove her car into a pole, I'd never caused any damage. So I want to see anywhere in those 3 months when you say to him, hey, I want to get my car fixed.
Well, it wasn't through text. We didn't text about my car.
Just a second. You have a lot of text messages.
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of text messages for money that he asked for.
So you had no conversation about the car? In texts?
No, in person.
Fine. You can't prove that to me because he says it never happened. He says backing into a pole never happened. And clearly it wasn't that urgently important to you because you continued to see him for the next 3 months.
Well, yeah.
Now, after the 3-month period, and after you were no longer together, do you have any text messages that discuss with him, let's do 2 things, either the tools or the car?
From after? No, I stopped contacting him after July.
So it would be fair that you have no communication with him with regard to the car. A pole?
No.
Did you take her car out?
I did drive it that day.
Where did you drive it?
I went to go get something to eat.
Okay. Was there an accident? Did you hit a pole? Did you touch an object?
I did not.
Do you have a photograph of the car?
No, I don't.
Just a second. You don't have a photograph of the damage that you say he did to the car?
No, I just have the quote from the...
No, okay. Not enough for me. Okay. So $539. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's what you owe for the tools. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
He wrecked my car. I didn't wreck my car.
I think the judge did what he was supposed to do, and I'm pretty much happy with it.
He was supposed to be fixing it. I wasn't going to fix it. I didn't do it.
I went to go get something to eat, and I brought the car back.
I saw him. I was in front of him when he did it. It's a brand new car.
Just be done with this and go get something to eat. I'm hungry.
And right when I got outside, he hit the pole.
I didn't.
You know, Sarah, I really think that the defendant in that case was trying to get himself together. And I think the plaintiff really loved him.
Sticky situation that we've seen before.
Yeah. I really wanted him to be able to be self-sustaining and self-supporting, do all the right things. I was glad that he said, I didn't say it to her, but I was going to pay her back for the tools because it was the right thing to do.
It was just not the top priority.
She was a non-pressing creditor. I really don't think that anything happened with her car, because if something happens with your car and there's damage to your car, you take a photograph so that you can see what happened to your car. I mean, he may have tapped a pole when he went out to get something to eat, but that didn't make a lawsuit without a photograph. One of those sad sad cases of unrequited love. I hope he continues to do well. Seemed like a nice enough man.